Welcome to the Besties with Breasties podcast. Sarah Hall here. I am a certified health and wellness coach, athletic trainer, mom, and breast cancer survivor. I help women overcome their own mind drama to make mind shifts that open up the possibility for their most empowered and energetic life.
And I am Beth Wilmus, author, speaker, and founder of a human investment organization, otherwise known as a nonprofit, called Faith Through Fire. Our mission is to reduce the fear and anxiety that breast cancer patients feel and replace it with hope and a path toward thriving.
This podcast is about our experiences with breast cancer
and life after as young survivors and moms. Take two. We had this whole conversation and then the sounds, Sarah and I got really animated and we blew out the...
Now we should just be really quiet.
I was going to say, we blew out the speakers and had to start over. All about your web space on your finger.
Yeah. So long story short, I think I sprained the space in between my pointer and my middle finger and it hurts. And I think
no, that's not the interesting part.
I
How
think
did you
I may
do
have
it?
done it driving. I thought I did it in yoga, but I think I did it driving.
Not just driving, turning on her blinker, folks.
I need more blinker fluid right here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's dive into today. We recently had an inventor of the fasting mimicking diet, Dr. Walter Longo, on the podcast. But when we had him on, he was able to talk about what his proposed longevity diet is.
And his research work.
And his research and like what we should be doing for longevity. But he couldn't specifically talk about a program that he created to help people with fasting mimicking diet, which is called Prolon. And so I think there's regulatory reasons as to why he can't mix the two.
But we can.
We can talk about it. So today we're going to talk about our experience with the Prolon diet, which is part of his program.
Yep. And then we'll talk about why we wanted to try it.
Yeah. And then we're going to talk about what we thought of the diet and if we do it again. But first, our sponsor. Ann's Bra Shop features skilled mastectomy fitters ready to assist you in selecting the perfect breast forms, bras, swimsuits, and camisoles for your post-surgery needs. They have 3 locations in the St. Louis area, Chesterfield and Winsville, Missouri, across the river in O'Fallon, Illinois, and a 4th location south on I-55 in Cape Girardeau. Visit Ann's Bra Shop at www.brashop.com to learn more.
Fantastic. We're back.
Okay, so I don't know. I haven't listened to the episode with him yet, but I was worried that there wasn't clarity around the difference between the longevity diet and the fasting mimicking diet. Did you pick up on that when we were talking?
Yeah, that could be a little bit confusing to people.
So the longevity diet is basically the diet that you can eat day in and day out, when you go to the grocery store. And it's basically 100% close to plant and fish-based.
And you can buy his book.
Yeah, so
Amazon.
He has a book called The Longevity Diet, which is actually a really good book. But essentially, the longevity diet is plant and fish-based, but low in protein and minimize bad fats and sugars, right? And maximize good fats and complex carbs.
Yep.
So, I don't feel like that's anything new. Do you?
No.
It's like we all know how we should be eating.
Well, I feel like there is just, we all know that we should eat better. Mm-hmm. But we don't all know what that actually means. Because for some, it's like, well, I'll just cut back on my portions, but eat the same thing. For some, it's I'm going to increase my protein and decrease my carbs. And then for some, it's like cut out sugar. So I feel like there is so much out there that is like you have to weed through to figure it out.
I hear whole foods, less sugar in almost everything that we talk to with the experts, right? The one thing that he talks about in his book that I was surprised about was lower levels of protein.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Now, he says that if you're older, you need more protein because you lose more muscle as you age. So you got to kind of watch that, and it's very individualized. But as a whole, you don't need as much protein as you think you do.
Well, it's kind of like, I think about it the way that I think about sports drinks. They're hawking and marketing sports drinks all the time. Drink all your sugars and salts after you go for,
replenish your electrolytes.
Replenish your electrolytes. When in reality, you don't lose enough for you to take on as many carbs as, say, a sports drink that I cannot name, branded, gives you. In that, unless you're, a top athlete that's running,
like if you're training for the Boston Marathon, right? Maybe you need all that sugar.
Right. So I do think that protein's kind of the same way, is that for a long time, it's kind of been this like superstar of make sure you're getting enough protein. And then people are having protein after they work out, and then making sure that they have protein at every single meal, and it's a gob of protein, so we end up getting more than we think we should because we're stressed about getting it in.
Yeah, especially people who are health conscious. I've noticed they're all about like, oh, I have to have this many grams of protein per day.
Yeah.
This book kind of like argues a little bit against that. So there's the longevity diet, right? That's just how we can eat day in and day out. The prolon program is basically based on his research that says fasting is good for the body. It causes autophagy, right? It causes bad cells to die while protecting your good cells. So fasting's good. However, to fast in a way that's actually going to lead to true autophagy,
it can't be just 12 hours.
It can't just be like a 12 or 16 hour fast and like you're going to get the kind of medical grade benefit that he's talking about.
Yeah.
So he basically created a meal plan that mimics fasting. So your body thinks that you're not eating, but you actually are. And I think this would be a good like stopping point to say who this isn't for. So Sarah and I are experimenting on ourselves, full disclosure. We're not, like we just like trying new things, especially after we have the scientists on who kind of tell us what the theory is behind their research. We like to go out and try these things, but we want to be clear that we took that on ourselves and we're not, we're not a spokesperson for Prolon.
Right.
And there's certain people that he stresses should not consider this diet. First and foremost, anybody with a history of disordered eating probably shouldn't do this because you are restricting your calories. And if you have a history of battling with food addiction or,
Eating
body
disorders.
image issues, like this probably isn't a place you want to go.
You can't be underweight for
No,
this.
you can't be underweight. If you're underweight, that's not good. People who are pregnant or nursing, anybody who's super active, like you said, where they're training for something really intense, old people who are very frail.
Do we just call out old people?
I mean, we're all going to get there.
How about elderly?
Okay, the elder. Is that the nicer way?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, my
Because
kids...
I would be like, well, am I old?
Well, my kids would say I'm old, so I guess you're right. Elderly people who
Elderly.
are frail. And then anybody that would have allergies, to what's in this meal kit. But so we wanted to say that because we want first and foremost for everybody to be safe. And if you're in cancer treatment right now, you need to talk to your doctor about this.
Yep.
So, Dr. Longo talked about how fasting can complement chemotherapy. That's a conversation you need to have with your doctor and really vet this with him before, undertaking anything like this.
Yep.
All right. So you know what? The other thing that we should talk about is proceeds and products. So Dr. Walter Longo wrote this book called The Longevity Diet, which we mentioned, but 100% of his book royalties go to charity and to fund research on longevity, which is his field of specialty.
Yep. And know this too, that if you do go to order before you buy the book and then end up buying the Prolon fast, if you decide that's something that you would want to do, again, we don't make any kind of money from that, but you do get a book with the Prolon
Oh,
fast,
yeah, if you buy the kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you end up doing this, the book comes in the kit. But if you want to check it out first, all of the book royalties go to charity. He doesn't benefit from those. Likewise, L Nutra is the name of the company that makes Prolon. That's his company that he started. And all these proceeds, like those proceeds, go to his Create Cures Foundation and other nonprofit organizations involved in research relevant to his mission. So that money doesn't go directly into his pocket.
Yeah.
So
you can really tell, I think, even if you listen to the interview before this, which is Dr. Longo, that he really has a passion for kind of finding answers and to spreading it. So
yeah, I don't think that this is money motivated for him, which I think is why we are both kind of intrigued because you know, we get bombarded with so many things all the time. We're going to have a whole episode where we kind of try to disseminate everything that we've learned from these guests, but it's just like gets overwhelming. So I think it was interesting that he's doing this because he has a true passion for it and he's not financially benefiting. So the Create Cures Foundation, I mentioned that's a foundation that he started to support people with advanced stage or complex diseases in need of integrative or more effective treatments. So it's basically for patients who are seeking options beyond standard treatments offered by their doctors. And their mission is to make evidence-based information available to the public to empower those who want to complement traditional treatments with reliable, scientifically based, and clinically tested strategies to improve efficacy of their therapy. That's a mouthful.
yeah, that is a mouthful.
But that makes sense to me. I mean, I think he said that he gets called constantly from patients who are looking for something beyond standard care. And so this foundation is there to assist them. But I think everything that they offer is based on scientific evidence from the research.
Yeah.
All right. So before we dive in to like why we wanted to try it, do you want to do boobs in the news?
Always.
All right, let's do it. Boobs in the News is a fun segment where we read funny tweets by real people or ridiculous news stories.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Oh
this
boy.
one's scary. This one scares me. All right, the name of it is This just happened. No, I don't know. So it says woman tossing trash falls into a dumpster, survives getting compacted in a garbage truck.
That's terrifying.
Terrifying. I will have a nightmare about this. Have you ever dreamt something like that?
No, but I read a book when I was little, maybe growing up on a farm, that I was always afraid of falling into the grain bin.
So this is a super sad story, but
maybe I don't want to know because
right,
it's still a terrifying. Yeah.
Right down the street from me, there was right down the street from me, less than a half a mile from my house, there's an elderly farmer who has been farming his whole life.
Yeah.
And he fell in a grain bin and the grain suffocated him. Can you imagine?
No.
It would be, yes.
Horrific.
So I get all the farm people out there will know that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trench diggers, right? Like trench diggers, it's like a real thing. Okay, so
Makes
it says,
me sick.
I know it does make me sick. It says a woman fell into a dumpster while throwing out her garbage and was later rescued from a trash truck that had compacted the contents while she was inside.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking like she wasn't in like the industrial ones that turn the trash into like a cube.
She was in the
trash truck that like just kind of pushes it to make a little bit of room.
I feel like there's a lot that could happen.
She survived, so it was obviously not super strong.
It says, luckily, neighbors heard her screams, and the trash compartment was equipped with a camera. The driver spotted the woman stuck inside and called 911. By then, the driver had reportedly compacted the garbage up to 4 times. Oh, no. Okay, well, what shape was she in? It says rescuers used a blanket ladder to reach the top of the truck and lift her out, but then she was standing, talking, yelling. But was not alert enough to answer questions. She was taken to the hospital. They don't say anything else about her except for it says, in 32 years, I've never seen anything like this in my whole career. Battalion Chief Bob Badeau told the TV station, it's alarming because you really don't think it's true. Huh.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad she's okay. Maybe.
I'm still confused. She was throwing stuff in a dumpster, so it must have been one of those big dumpsters.
Yeah.
And then she fell in, and then the trash truck just happened to pull up right at that second and toss her into the back of the truck.
Well, I wonder if she fell and like bumped her head and like kind of
passed out.
Passed out.
And then you wake up and you're being compacted.
Just the amount of things that had to fall into place to make that happen.
Do you know what?
But I also like wonder. I've thought about this when I take my recycling. Is that that would be like a really cozy, like when it's really cold outside. And like that would be a really cozy place if I was homeless.
In the dumpster?
Well, I mean, like you're at least blocked
with
from the
trash?
wind. Well, yeah, but if you have no place to stay.
Wow.
I don't know.
Your standards are like.
I mean, find me in the dumpster if I'm homeless ever.
Cozy's
all right?
not the word. Cozy's not the word I would use. But all right.
Well, no, I'm thinking cozy. I'm talking about my recycling place. So we're just talking about paper and cardboard. That's not stinky.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. I could get behind that.
Yeah, there's food there. Like
I'm just like. Man, every nasty dumpster I've seen does not look cozy. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, there's your boobs.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
All right. So according to this book, we should all adopt like the nutrition plan that he talks about, the longevity diet, right?
Sure.
And then he talks about, depending on the level of your health, how often you should do this prolon fast. Mm-hmm. So it can be anywhere from 2 times a year to 12 times a year. And it's like, what was it, $170?
Yeah.
For 5 days of food?
Was that? Yeah. Yeah.
It's 5 days of food and it's like $170, which I personally didn't think was bad.
No, because I figure if I were to eat out or if I were to get groceries, I would probably spend about that. So
yeah, I mean, especially now.
Yeah.
So, okay, why did you want to...
Let's talk about what it is. Because it's 5 days. Like, everything that you're going to eat for 5 days is going to be in this box. Mm-hmm. And we're talking, it's dehydrated powdered soups, bars, olives. Those were my favorite part.
Yeah, they were really good.
And then there's, like, a drink that you start on day 2 and a couple supplements, but not many.
No.
Like, we're talking, like, in the whole
Omega
thing,
3s.
4 supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not a day, the whole 5 days. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what it is. And the point is, and I almost feel like it was really beneficial to know when I was going to do it so that I could kind of like taper back my eating up to it.
Oh, well, he says in the book that you're supposed to kind of ideally in a perfect world, you should be eating the way he says, the longevity diet
before you do it.
For 1 to 2 weeks before you do it.
Okay. Well,
I did not.
That was my lesson learned because I had Mexican the night before I started it.
And I was in DC for my son's 8th grade trip and we were eating out 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So I also did not have really good, a base, let's say. But the food, okay, first of all, it comes in a really nice fancy box.
Yeah.
It spells
super easy to
spells
follow.
out super easily what you're supposed to eat when for each of the 5 days. I did this with my husband. I thought it was super easy and I really wasn't hungry at all throughout the entire thing. My husband was like
ravenous,
but
he was a little hangry the whole time.
He was like hangry the whole time. He has never done anything like that in his entire life. And he is used to eating mass quantities of food whenever he wants to. And so for him, it was much more difficult. For me, I thought it was easy.
So why did you want to do it? I mean, I know we interviewed him and you and I are kind of always like, let's try something new.
Yeah. I mean, I want to do it because I think that since I've gone through treatment, my body's a hot mess express. And I heard, autophagy of bad cells while protecting good cells. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. Also in the book, it's interesting. They say that if you do this prolon diet for 3 months in a row, you can reverse your biological age by like 2.5 years.
That's insane.
Yeah. I could knock off 2.5 years.
When you see me in 2 more months, I will be...
Well, he doesn't say your outside's...
I'll be 36.
I was going to say, it doesn't say your outside's going to look that way. It says your insides are going to look that way. But I also question, like, okay, having gone through radiation and chemotherapy and questioning what that's done to my body long term, it's like, okay, so if I reverse the clock biologically by 2.5 years... Am I at a place of accelerated aging because of the treatments I did? Like, am I biologically? It would be so interesting to me to know what my biological age is.
Yeah.
If I'm 42, but my biological age is 60, and now I do this prolon fast, and I'm now at 59 or 40, 58.
Yep.
It's like, that's still not
totally worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. But I'm like, I'm really kind of nervous to know what my biological age is.
Yeah. I think I did it because I had been wanting to incorporate fasting. But I struggle with fasting. It's not because like, oh, I love food, but like I think I could handle 12 and 12s and I could handle 16 and 8s sometimes. And these are the hours that, you're eating and fasting. But times of the month and just depending on where I was with like how much I had worked out or whatever, like it really changed my hunger cues and I could not nail down what felt really good for me.
I agree.
And so the thought of, and I actually matched this up. So I've gone off my hormone therapy and now have my period back. And so I matched my prolon fast up with my period and it felt so right. Like it felt really good. And I felt like I was just kind of cleansing in all areas and yeah, and I'm just usually less hungry on my period. Right before my period, though, like I tend to eat everything in sight. So
so do I.
Yeah.
I will say they kind of caution you to take it easy exercise-wise while you do this fast. I don't love exercise anyway, but
so you're like, done.
Yeah. I canceled my workout, with my trainer that week because I'm like, I don't think I have the energy, nor do I think it would be wise to do this. I didn't feel lightheaded. I didn't feel sick.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was starving, but I kind of had this sense like you don't need to be overdoing it.
You just feel a little bit more like you want to just rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely feels like you want to take it slow and just kind of rest and not do your normal things. So I did do that. I didn't do any exercise.
Same.
And I just took it real slow. But I mean, I think, those are legit reasons for wanting to try something like this. It's like, I think that people are becoming more and more familiar with biological age versus your actual age. I think that's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
Because he mentions in his book, like you can have somebody who is 70 years old who has the biology of a 35-year-old. And you can have a 35-year-old that has the biology of a 70-year-old. It's really not about the number.
Yeah.
And
I know it gives more credence to the people who are like, age is just a number. And I'm like, you're actually right.
Right. So, okay. basically, and also it kind of reverses the hands of time, right? So, I mean, that's appealing as well. Yeah. And, it's clinically proven to help you lose abdominal fat, but you conserve your bone mass and your muscle. I thought that was interesting too. Like he talks about that in the book, that people think, oh, if I take a break from working out and I'm fasting, I'm going to lose muscle. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't show that. The research didn't show that. It shows that you can conserve all your muscle, which I thought was really interesting.
I thought the most interesting part was when he talked about on the podcast about the stem cells and regenerating your cells and like turning back the risk factors that you potentially had, because they kind of, he didn't make the joke that they're kind of like infant cells again, but they kind of start over. Yeah. Like they get a break.
So everybody who got cancer, like myself, I was 35 years old when I got cancer, because he makes the connection in the book. He doesn't really try to help diseases or cure diseases through this. His whole focus is on keeping cells young so you don't get diseases. And so my whole question, I mean, I think he kind of basically said yes, is like, okay, at 35, because I got cancer, did I have old cells, old, dirty cells?
Why they gotta be dirty?
I mean, they're metabolically, like I was metabolically sick, and that's what led to cancer. And it was like, my cells were not youthful. My cells were not young. Yeah. If they were, they would have been healthy and they wouldn't have gone rogue.
I think they just don't bounce back.
He kind of collaborated that. He was like, yeah, kind of. I mean, so I don't know. I found that interesting. And that led me to be like, well, I want young cells again. I don't want these dirty, malfunctioning cells.
Oh, I really just want to sing that song right now, the Cher song. Oh,
turn back time.
I can't drop my voice like her, though.
I mean, you did pretty good there.
Thank you.
Oh, that's too funny. All right, so let's talk about we talked about how it's structured, right? Like what comes in the box. The interesting part is on day 1, you start with like 1,100 or 1,200 calories. And by like day 2 through 5, you go down to like 800 calories a day. Yeah. Which I have never in my life ate 800 calories or less.
Oh.
At least not like unless it was an accident. If I get really busy, if I get really busy and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten all day. But then what usually happens is I eat such a massive meal that I, consume 2,000 calories in one sitting. Yeah. So it is very calorie restrictive. What day was the hardest for you?
Day 3.
Day 3 was my hardest day too.
Yeah. I think it's because it's like the hump day of the fast where you're like, okay, day 1 and day 2 were hard to mentally wrap my head around. But day 3, I was just like, I still have 2 more days of this. And I think day 3 was that hump where I got over my hunger. I stopped being hungry.
So you found yourself hungry.
I found myself hungry. I think I texted you one night before I went to bed, and I was like preparing for bed at like 7:45 and going, do you know how to slow down time? Do a 5-day fast.
That's no joke. Can you imagine, like we've talked about in the past, like water fasting? Can you imagine where you're only consuming liquids for like 72 hours to a week? I don't even know how you do it.
I don't either.
And he actually mentions that both in his book and I think on the podcast, that this basically is the way to do a water fast without doing a water fast.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting too, because I think there's some pretty sound science behind the benefits of fasting for like people who have serious illness.
Yeah. We do not recommend it, and I don't think he even recommended doing long fasts without some kind of being monitored.
Medical. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he's also doing research right now with the Mayo Clinic on a fast specifically for cancer patients, because their initial research is showing that it increases the efficacy
of chemotherapy.
Yeah. And like, I think that's
for many people who can't like keep down food. I'm sure they'll be like, I've already been fasting.
I mean, I've said this before. I lost so much weight when I went through cancer treatment. I just had no appetite. I think it was stress related. No appetite. I mean,
a little part of me is jealous because I was like, give me the pizza and all of the pizza.
I mean, we had inverse roles at that point then, because normally you're not like that at all. And I'm like,
it's those steroids. I was just like, just everything bread.
Yeah. No, I was not that hungry. I just did not feel like eating. So I could have done a fast through treatment. I mean, I basically did.
Yeah.
I basically did. My whole meal when I was going through treatment was like 2 Ensure shakes a day, and that was like it.
Lord.
And I felt great.
Yeah.
That's bad. Again, like people, if you're underweight or you have any kind of history, like I don't want this to be triggering, but.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Do you feel any different? Or did you feel any different on it?
Yeah, 100%. I think that by day 3, I was starting to feel more like by the end of day 3, and especially day 4 and day 5, I felt very energetic. My brain was like really alive with ideas, and I was like ready to go out and conquer. By 7 o'clock, I was ready to go to bed though. And I just felt slimmer. If that makes any sense.
You felt skinnier.
I
lost 3 or 4 pounds on doing this for 5 days, but the minute that I ate regular food again, it came back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I went down, let's see, let me do the quick math here. I went down 4 pounds, but only went back up 2.
Okay.
So I feel like that's a win, but I did really focus on trying to stay in. So I do, from our Dr. Seafried episode, I have got a keto mojo, and I've been testing my ketones, and I tried to stay in ketosis for as long as I could after. And I stayed in, I can't remember really what threw me out, but I'm out now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I stayed in for a lot longer than I ever have. So
I feel like some of these things are so difficult to do without the instruction of a professional.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, like a little guidance, or somebody to swat the chip out of your hand.
I really wish that there were like a plethora of doctors who would learn this stuff and then be able to guide us, in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a wild, wild west. Like, we're out here trying to figure it out on our own, because it's like we want to have healthy bodies after cancer, and we don't know how to get there.
Yeah. I will say it does feel like everybody I've told about it, they're either interested in it, like, tell me more about that,
or super skeptical.
Or they're super skeptical. And maybe that's just because it's my personality. They're always like, what are you on now? What are you doing now?
Yeah.
Like, what have you got cut out of your diet? And I say that like it is coming from my loved ones too. But anyway, I think that I find it interesting to run experiments, because you always learn something from experiments. So
yeah. I agree.
You're going to either walk away having loved it and wanting to do it again, or you're going to walk away and you're going to be like, well, that was $170. I'll never get back.
Yeah. I also feel like, this is where I struggle too. It's like, in order to see the benefit of anything, you have to be pretty consistent.
Yes.
And then it becomes that cost benefit analysis of how much time and effort and money do I want to dedicate to this to see if it's a dead end.
That, and, I'm thinking about your husband and his blueberry, but like, it really does take a lot of willpower. Like, I think one of the lessons that could potentially be gleaned from just doing the 5 days is just like, how good is your sticking power at anything? Yeah. And if you're going to go hire, say, like, I'm not knocking nutritionist or a health coach, and I am one, so that's totally fine. But like, if you're going to go hire any one of those people, you're going to pay them that, per session, or even within 2 sessions. So it's like, I think for $170, you can learn, what is my willpower? How does this make me feel when I eat this way? What is fasting going to like do for me and make me feel? So, when you really look at the cost benefit ratio, it's,
for me, it was like, for sure, it was like psychological. Like, I was not physically hungry at all, but I missed variety of food.
Totally.
And I missed...
You're tired of soup.
Yeah. I was just... I wanted something... Like, I wanted the excitement of a meal. And I realized how much my psychology was tied to my eating.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you're not... It was like when I quit smoking, right? It's like, I broke the physical addiction to cigarettes, 2 weeks into quitting. But it's like, you still wanted it.
Yeah. The break, the like mental mindset that you get when you get to walk outside.
Have the social aspect of, this was way back when I smoked like 20 years ago. But it's like, you want the social aspect. You want, when you have a drink with dinner, you want it, It was all tied to psychological reasons, not actual reasons. And this was the same way for me. It was like, I just found myself kind of like bored. I'm like, oh, well, if food is just for sustenance and it's not supposed to be adding anything to my life, like, I don't know how much I like this.
And you and I both, because I'm sure, but I have to go for back. Our listeners, because you and I both went to an event where we had to eat. Or it was an eating event, and
it was my favorite place to eat too. And I couldn't have any. I was watching everybody else eat, and I was like,
but I think that's another situation where it's like you can't. Your willpower comes into play, but you also have to navigate that situation, which is very similar. So like, if you're like, I'm going to take a month off from drinking, are you just going to avoid all situations where there's drinking?
Yes. That's what I do. That's what I do. I avoid the situation that triggers me to want to do it until I feel strong enough to be able to be in that situation. Like, I have to have some time before I'm able to be in those situations and not feel compelled to do it.
Well, but this is only 5 days.
So back to, Sarah alluded to a blueberry.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like we need to give some context.
Yes.
So my husband, was not as excited to do this as I was, although he was willing to.
Felt like there was some arm twisting.
Here's what happened. I ordered him I asked him how he felt about doing it with me, and he was like, I don't know. That doesn't sound fun at all.
And then you ordered him a box.
And then I ordered him a box, and I'm like, well, now I've paid for it, so you should probably just do it.
He's so financially tied. He does not like wasting money.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not wasting this money. So he did it. But I think it was like on day 3, which is the hardest day. And he was in the kitchen getting food ready for the kids. And all of a sudden, I kind of see out of the corner of my eye this movement of his hand from the counter to his mouth. And I just kind of glanced at him and I go, did you just cheat? And he goes, it was a blueberry. It was a blueberry. One blueberry. He's like, it's not going to kill me. And I'm like, that's cheating. I'm like, stick to the diet. If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, one blueberry. And he got all riled up about it. And I'm like, okay, Beth.
But see, that's applicable to other areas of life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're going to commit.
Commit. Yeah.
Right?
Do it 100%.
I wasn't going to get down to day 3 and then cheat.
No.
I'm
the hardest part is over.
So here's the question. Are you going to do it again?
Yeah. I already have my boxes ordered. It's sitting in my kitchen and I have a start date of the 9th.
Okay. You've already got a start date. I am going to do it again. I would like to do it 3 times.
Same. 3 months in a row. And it's perfect. January, February, March.
Mm-hmm.
Right before summer.
Right. Because that goes back to that consistency thing of, okay, I don't know that I could really. So unlike you, I didn't feel like my brain was on fire and I was just like full of ideas and I felt really energetic. I felt fine. I felt fine.
You didn't feel like great.
I didn't feel great. I didn't feel terrible. I felt fine. I did go to bed early every night because I didn't want to be tempted to cheat. So like my bedtime became 8:00, which actually I think did help me.
Yeah.
So, I got great.
No one's ever going to say like more sleep was bad for me.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I think I benefited from that, but I couldn't tell anything from one. I'm always looking, is there a tangible benefit? And sometimes with this health stuff, you can't tell.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about reversing your biological age. I don't know what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to try to do it 2 more times and kind of see, okay, do I feel different after I do this multiple times?
And you have to remember, it's like cellular repair from the inside.
That's
so
what
it's
I'm saying.
It's not like going to be like, we're good, flashing across your forehead.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, this goes back to just, I am pretty sure I did some major damage, having cancer. And it's like, I want to try to do anything I can that might try to kind of clean up my cells. So, I would do it again. I definitely think that it was well thought out and well done on their part in terms of being manageable.
Easy. Yeah.
It's not something that's like really, really terribly hard to do.
No,
It's
really not.
All right. So before we give our final thoughts, let's hear from our second sponsor.
Thrivent is a proud sponsor of Faith Through Fire. Thrivent believes money is a tool and not a goal. The Gateway Financial Group with Thrivent is local to the St. Louis area and can work with you to create a financial strategy that reflects your priorities and helps you protect the things that matter to you, like family and giving back. Please call 314-783-4214 to schedule a free consultation with one of Thrivent's Gateway Financial Advisors.
Okay, we are back. Final thoughts on the Prolon Fast and really the longevity diet. I haven't gotten a chance to read the book yet, but I'm really excited.
I mean, I went out and bought olives.
How are olives not a major part of your life already?
Well, because I figured out that there is doing the Prolon diet and having the olives be from Greece taste way different than those enormous olives that you get in the brine from the store.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah.
Those are 2 different kinds of
olives. They got to be quality olives.
Yeah. So when I went for quality, they became a delicious snack. And that's kind of like my go-to now.
Yeah.
And so, I think it helped create some healthier habits for me, in terms of my snacking and just like what's in my pantry. So
it saved. I really like a good pickle.
Yeah, you are.
But
a pickle person.
It can't be like the shelf stable ones. It's got to be like the ones that were, in a good vinegar with maybe even some different vegetables and stuff. And so now it's safe to say that you and I are both pickle and olive snobs.
We kind of are, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I went and got a really nice jar of olives, but I have to tell you, I went to get my first olive and they're seeds. And I don't like it when they're seeds.
Are they Kamada?
No,
Like the
they're
black
like,
ones?
I'll show you. I don't know what they are, but they're like,
okay.
there's 3 varieties in there. They're all delicious,
what? It's
but
just
they
like-
all have seeds.
It's just you get to savor it a little bit more, and like you got to pick around it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I'm doing.
Takes more time.
Yeah. I don't remember what your question was, but
Oh, what's our final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, I mean, this podcast is really just for people who are looking to explore their own health.
And we wanted to make sure that it was like fully covered from the last
I know. I felt weird about it because when we interviewed him, we didn't realize he couldn't actually talk about the prolon diet until we got into it.
And I was on day 5 and I was like ready to talk about it
and to
I was
ask
like,
him
"Aw."
questions. And then, I know it's all that regulatory stuff. So, we just wanted to follow it up with what our actual experience was and clarify the difference between what he was talking about, which was research in the longevity diet versus the fasting mimicking diet. So anyway, you do you, boo. That's how I want to finish it.
But if you've done it before and you have thoughts, please let us know.
Oh, yeah. If you guys decide to try it, we should definitely talk about this. You should join us on our private online network. We can all chat it out.
Yep.
All right.
Chat
until next time.
See ya.
Thank you for being a listener of the Besties with Breasties podcast. If this podcast had a positive impact on your journey, leave us a review or consider becoming a supporter. You can donate with the link in the show notes or at faiththroughfire.org. This episode was hosted by Sarah Hall and Beth Wilmus, audio and production edits by Innovative Frequencies.